My most played favorite game mode, Dynasty. I say this one for last.
In college football 27.
I say this one for last.
Through the entire deep dive, I think one thing becomes clear.
Like
this year's Dynasty mode is no longer just about recruiting players. It's about running an entire football program, which is something we all wanted. Because almost every major feature added this year connects back to
see what these new features is, bro.
Dynasty blueprint. You've got NIL, facilities, support staff, athletic director expectations. You've got coaching contracts and job security. And look, this deep dive is super long. It might take an hour if you want to go read it yourself, but I've condensed it down to the most important information that I know you guys want to know. And I also want to let y'all know that
I wasn't watching it 2 hours. Like the video was 2 hours. I wasn't going to watch that.
And turn the bell icon on so you don't miss that when it drops. So let's get into Dynasty Blueprint. Before we talk about recruiting and transfers and the coaching carousel and the stadium builder and all the other great stuff, we have to talk about Dynasty Blueprint.
Okay, let's just pause this and look into it. Your program overview, you got managed staff, your facilities, recruiting NIL, your roster NIL, and budgeting overview. All right.
The easiest way to think about this is your system's program budget. Every year your school receives something called Dynasty Points.
Dynasty Points. Okay, I guess this is what you get to spend. So the total right here, you got 5,810, and this is UCLA. So I know like the lower conference schools, I bet you can like compare this to recruiting points. You know how some people start off with 1,500 points, and some people start off with like 700. I bet the budget points probably gonna be the same way.
Things like your conference prestige, program tradition, brand exposure, stadium atmosphere, and other factors.
But I already know if I get a low score school, I'm giving out straight NIL money. I'm trying to get the best of the best.
You also earn Dynasty points through winning conference championships, making the college football playoff, winning bowl games, winning national championships, and completing certain goals set by your athletic director. Now here's the important part. Those Dynasty points
I like that right there.
roll over. If you don't spend them, they're gone. And that's what creates the entire blueprint system. Because every offseason you're making real decisions about how you want to build your football program. Do you want to spend heavily on NIL to land elite recruits? Do you invest in facilities to improve your player development? Do you hire better coordinators and support staff? Or do you try to balance all of those areas equally? Because every point spent in one category is a point you can't spend somewhere else. And honestly, this is one of the things I like most about what EA is doing here. In previous games, most schools felt kind of similar once you got a few years into Dynasty. But now the resources available to Alabama are going to feel very different than the resources available to a smaller group of 5 schools. The rich schools are going to have more ways to attack roster building. Smaller schools are going to have
wonder what's the max you can get.
And I think that's where some really interesting Dynasty stories could begin to form. So let's talk athletic director expectations. Now the blueprint becomes more important once you start looking at the AD expectations. This is another one of the biggest additions in the entire deep dive. Every school now has its own.
Okay, let's read this AD expectation. Coach James Franklin, hope you are doing well. This program is counting on you. School demeanor, passing or failing goals affect your job security at a normal rate. Okay. So these the expectation right here, I guess. Expectation conference contender. So you want to beat Virginia to get 200 of these points. I wonder if you don't beat them, do you lose 200? Then it said win 50% of your conference game this season. Okay. And win a bowl game in the next 7 seasons.
Expectations, priorities, and level of patience.
Okay.
Some schools are very patient, some are balanced, and
beat
some
Michigan by 3+ points. Okay, this is just like different goals. Okay, be ranked in the top 5 by the end of the regular season.
You don't deliver results quickly.
Okay, all of them very doable.
I mean, look at my
very doable goals.
The past few years. Brian Kelly was there for a few years, didn't make the playoffs. He's already replaced, and that's what you can expect at some of these bigger schools. But what I really like is that success is no longer measured exactly the same way at every school. A rebuilding school may simply just want some bowl appearances. Another school may expect conference championships, and another might prioritize dominating just in-state recruiting.
Okay,
And all of these
so just different
can
goals.
directly impact your job security. What's cool here is that some goals are considered true expectations while others are more stretch goals. For example, a school might expect you to maintain facilities to continue winning rivalry games. Those are things they expect you to accomplish. Then there might be a bigger goal like making the college football playoff. Missing that goal might not destroy your job security, but accomplishing it could provide a huge boost. And also keep in mind, expectations don't stay the same forever. As your programs grow, expectations grow too. If you take a small school and build them into a perennial top 10 program, eventually that school starts expecting top 10 results every year. Now,
As they should.
And the athletic director expectations is because literally everything else in Dynasty feeds into those systems. The facilities, the NIL, the coaching staff, the recruiting, the retention, all of it. Every decision you make now becomes part of a larger strategy.
Alright, let's see what this is. Support staff, management, increased earn Dynasty point at the end of the season. Boom. Okay.
Now, speaking of NIL, let's jump into it because it is by far the biggest change to the mode in terms of roster building. It's finally in the game in a big way.
That's crazy.
Some
Boy, I
people
gotta
love
manage
this or hate
NIL.
this you are, but it is a part of college football now. What
Crazy.
I find really interesting is that EA didn't just tack NIL.
Boy, I ain't gonna be able to recruit nothing.
They basically built an entire ecosystem around it because NIL now affects recruiting, the transfer portal, roster retention, and even NFL draft decisions. Every recruit in the game now has expected NIL value, and that expectation is going to vary depending on a lot of different factors. 5-star recruits
so that's a
generally
5-star
expect
for
more than
140.
4 stars. Premium
That ain't
positions are
bad.
typically going to expect more than other
That ain't
positions.
bad.
Certain deal breakers can increase NIL expectations, and even your school's prestige can impact what recruits expect from you. One thing that immediately stands out is scholarships now include NIL, and that right there changes recruiting.
Hold on, bro. Scholarships contain NIL, bro. So you can offer this dude a scholarship. Okay. And he just gonna go where you get the most NIL money at. Oh, no. Bro.
In college football 26,
I can see this now, bro.
it was
College online Dynasty, bro. I know some people just gonna go crazy with the NIL money, bro.
pretty common to throw scholarships at a bunch of players early in the
I ain't
process.
bad to compete,
That's
bro.
not the case anymore. In fact, you can't even offer scholarships during preseason. Preseason is now focused entirely on scouting. Then once week 0 arrives, that's when scholarship offers become available.
That's
when you offer a scholarship,
crazy.
you're not just offering a roster spot anymore. You're also making a financial commitment. When you go to offer a prospect, you'll see their expected NIL value. You can offer below that amount, you can offer exactly what they're asking for, or you can go above their expectations. And depending on what you offer, your weekly recruiting influence is going to change. Offer more money and you'll gain more influence. Offer less money and you'll take an influence penalty. Now, at first glance, you might think the obvious strategy is simply throw the biggest amount possible at every recruit, but that's where things get interesting because every NIL offer creates expectations. Let's say a recruit expects 100 Dynasty points. If you offer 150 to help secure the commitment, you've now created a new expectation. That player no longer sees 100 as normal. Now they expect 150 from your program, and that expectation doesn't disappear after they sign. It follows them.
Man,
on
if
to
he
your
don't-
roster. So yes, maybe you won the.
If he get on the roster and don't produce, he ain't getting nothing over 150. So I don't even care about that.
But you have also created a long-term problem for yourself.
No,
honestly,
he getting
that's probably
cut.
one of the most realistic parts of the entire NIL system.
Bro.
The decisions.
If I sign him, I get him more NIL money, and he come there and be a bust, buddy, you're gone. I'm not. You can expect all you
can
want.
affect your roster years down the road. Now, something else worth mentioning
Wayne
is that
Knight.
NIL offers can be adjusted throughout the recruiting process. So if another school starts making a push late in recruitment, you can increase your offer. If you have a comfortable lead and you want to save Dynasty points, you can reduce your offer. But again, reducing an offer comes with consequences because just like real life, recruits generally aren't thrilled when somebody promises one thing and then offers something else later.
I ain't gonna go
So
back
there's
on my
definitely
word.
going to be a
I can't go
balancing act
back.
here.
So I
You're
gotta
trying to
watch
spend
it.
enough to win recruiting battles, but not so much that you're creating massive future expectations throughout your roster. And speaking of recruiting, NIL becomes even more important once you get to the transfer portal. Transfer recruiting now places an even bigger emphasis on NIL. And that honestly makes sense. These aren't high school recruits trying to figure out what matters to them. These are players who know exactly what they're looking for. They're entering the portal for a reason after all. So if you're trying to land a star quarterback out of the portal or fill a major roster hole, NIL is likely going to play a huge role in those battles. But here's where I think the system becomes really interesting. Recruiting players is one thing, keeping them is another. And that's where roster NIL comes into play. Every player on your roster now has their own NIL expectations, and those expectations change over time. Maybe a player develops into an All-American, or they win awards. Maybe they become one
crazy.
of the
You gotta really be in tune with your whole roster.
Obviously, so do their expectations.
Like, you gotta know what's going on with everybody.
Decide who gets paid. During the end of season recap, you'll receive a roster NIL management screen. From there, you can increase or decrease NIL allocations for players on your roster. Increasing NIL makes players more likely to stay, while reducing it increases the chances that they'll leave. And this is where Dynasty starts to become a true roster management simulator.
Yeah, you gotta be locked in, bro.
Situations where you simply can't keep everyone happy. Maybe you've got a star quarterback, a future first-round pass rusher, an elite wide receiver, and an all-conference offensive tackle. And then all of them want money. All of them think they're worth more. But your Dynasty point budget isn't unlimited. So now you're making difficult decisions.
I ain't gonna lie, I like that.
And personally,
I can't wait to finish. I mean, to see how managing it goes, bro.
Especially at smaller schools, because the reality is not every program can spend like Alabama, Georgia, or Texas. Some schools are going to have to be incredibly strategic with how they allocate resources. Now, one thing I found especially interesting is that NIL can impact the NFL draft decisions. If you have a star player who's considering leaving early for the NFL, increasing NIL could potentially convince them to return for another season. But the overall takeaway here is pretty simple. Recruiting is no longer just recruiting. Roster management is no longer just roster management. Everything is connected. Every NIL offer impacts your future. Every recruiting win has a cost. Every retention decision has consequences. And that's exactly why Dynasty Blueprint matters so much. And that brings us to the next major piece of this blueprint, which is facilities and support staff. Now, while NIL is one pillar of the Dynasty Blueprint, facilities and coaching staff are the other two. And honestly, I think this is where Dynasty starts feeling much more like you're actually running a football program instead of simply recruiting players, which to me is going to make Dynasty much better this year than it was in the previous two. For the first time, you have direct control over your athletic
let's see what's going on
facilities.
With the athletic facility. So I guess them the same point that you spend NIL, because I don't see it number one time up here. The points.
And this isn't just a cosmetic number anymore. Facilities now directly impact player development.
I'm going to turn up the facilities.
The better your facilities are, the better environment.
Private chef. I'm going to turn up the facility in my Dynasty. We getting flow mats. We getting misting fans. Private chef, on-demand repairs, the heart rate. We getting everything. I'm going crazy with the athletic facility, bro.
One of the reasons certain schools consistently recruit at such a high level is because they're able to show recruits incredible facilities, training resources, recovery programs, and developmental opportunities. Now in College Football 27, you're able to invest Dynasty points directly into that part of your program. Facilities are broken into 5 tiers. Basic, competitive, premier, elite, and national powerhouse facilities. The higher your facility tier, the better your overall facilities grade can become. But here's the catch. Upgrading facilities is expensive, and maintaining them is also expensive. Every year, your facilities have maintenance costs attached to them. So if you're running a national powerhouse level facility, you're going to be paying significantly more to maintain it than a smaller program.
Crazy,
and this creates some really interesting decisions, because now you're constantly weighing short-term gains versus long-term investments. Do you spend Dynasty points on NIL right now to land recruits, or do you invest in facilities that could benefit your program for years to come? And that's exactly the type of decision that the Blueprint system is trying to create. Now, layered on top of facilities is something called equipment. Think of equipment as upgrades you can install within your facilities. Some equipment can improve athletic facilities grades, some can reduce wear and tear, some can reduce injury risk, some can help with player health throughout the season. And these upgrades become just another way to customize how your program operates. If you're dealing with a roster that's constantly getting beat up throughout the season, maybe you're investing heavily into health and recovery equipment. If you're focusing on maximizing the player development, maybe you're prioritizing different upgrades. Again, it all comes back to the blueprint. What kind of program are you trying to build?
I'm sorry, I'm just not really reacting to this. I'm really just taking it all in, bro, and learning. Like,
your recruiting
It's gonna be a
personnel,
lot.
your analysts, your fundraising staff, development specialists, people who may never
But
be seen
a lot in a
Saturday
good way.
play a huge role in the success of your program. And now you can hire them. The number of support staff.
It's kind of reminding me of Madden though. If you ever did like a connected franchise in Madden,
the more support staff you can bring in.
It's kind of reminding me of that.
Bonuses. Some reduce NIL expectations, some increase recruiting hours, some improve off-season player progression, so on and so forth. And just like facilities, there are different tiers here. You have bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. The higher the tier, the bigger the impact, but of course, the higher the cost as well. Now, one thing I really like here is that you can't just stack everything. You only get one version of each support staff type. So if you want bigger bonuses in certain areas, you have to invest in better talent rather than simply piling on multiple staff members doing the same thing. And this creates another layer of program identity. Maybe you're building a recruiting powerhouse, or maybe you're building a developmental powerhouse. Maybe you're trying to maximize fundraising and dynasty point generation. Different schools can now feel dramatically different depending on how you allocate resources. And then we have coordinators. Coordinators are still incredibly important, but now they're much more expensive and much more strategic. When you're hiring,
well, you gotta spend money on everything.
You're now using dynasty points.
College football 27 is teaching you budgeting.
Coordinators are going to cost more. Less experienced ones will cost less. And some
you gotta you gotta manage NIL, you gotta manage your facility, now you gotta manage your coaches. Boy, if you want to learn budgeting, play College Football 27.
Interested in joining your program unless you're willing to overpay. You'll be able to see their archetypes, abilities, interest level, and expected cost before making offers. You can even offer up twice their expected value to increase your chances of landing them. But again, every decision
comes down to the
blueprint. You're spending a huge chunk of your budget.
I just made a clip. Y'all ain't even know. I'll be clipped for me, bro.
And one thing I really appreciate is that coordinator retention now matters. If you got a great coordinator, you can negotiate extensions and try to keep them from leaving. But just like in real life, successful programs are constantly dealing with coaches getting poached by other schools. Overall, I think the facilities and support staff are some of the most underrated additions in this entire deep dive. Because while NIL is probably going to get the most headlines, to be fair, these systems are what really make the programs feel different from one another. A powerhouse.
They're going to be a lot, bro. I can't wait to see that. I got to learn it.
Lean heavy into recruiting and NIL.
I got to learn it. I can't wait to play it, bro.
Dynasty blueprint is trying to accomplish. Now, speaking of recruiting, EA also made some pretty significant changes to how recruiting itself actually works this year. The biggest change is the addition of verbal commits and hard commits. In previous years, once a recruit committed, that was basically the end of the story. But now recruiting follows a new progression. Prospects move from open to top 5, then to top 3, then verbal commitment, and finally hard commitment. And one thing you'll notice immediately is the top 8 stage has been removed entirely. So recruits are going to spend more time in those earlier stages before narrowing things down. But the real story here is what happens after a recruit verbally commits. When a player verbally commits, they commit to whichever school is currently leading their recruitment. However, it's not over. The other schools in the top 3 can continue recruiting them. And this is where things get interesting.
Boy, because the school some recruiting flipping
receives an influence bonus while trying to lock that recruit down. But if another school manages to pass them in recruiting influence, that recruit can actually decommit. At that point, the recruitment essentially reopens among those top 3 schools. So now recruiting battles don't necessarily end once somebody commits. You may still have a chance to steal a player late. Or on the flip side, you may need to spend resources protecting recruits you've already landed. And honestly, this feels a lot more realistic. Because if you follow real-life college football, you know, verbal commits flip all the time. Eventually, once a recruit reaches
flipping,
then they're locked in. At that point, they're done. No more flipping, no more decommitting. But overall, this is going to create some really fun moments in Dynasty, especially online dynasties. Imagine thinking you've secured a 5-star quarterback only to watch another user steal him right before signing day, or landing a massive flip yourself after spending weeks chasing a recruit. These are the kinds of recruiting stories that make Dynasty fun. EA also mentions that recruit generation has been reworked to create more exciting recruiting classes. Overall, recruits should be more explosive. You'll see more elite athleticism, more high-end speed,
day
more
one recruiting gonna be crazy, bro. I'm talking about, I don't think when I started recruiting on 26, I don't think I got to see the crazy like 99 speeds and all that, right? I don't think I got to see the crazy recruits, bro. But I know like the recruits now finna go crazy. I'm saying, because just based on what he's saying, I know the recruits finna go crazy day one.
Now, these type of players will still be pretty rare, but when they appear, they're supposed to stand out from the rest of the class. These are recruits that can completely change the direction of the program. Moving on to the coaching carousel, this has been a hot topic for 2 years as it just wasn't really good in the previous 2 games. Let's hope it's going to be better this year. Now, according to what they're saying here, it says one of the biggest issues in previous games was that coaching jobs often felt very mechanical. You get offers, you'd accept or decline, and that was pretty much it. This year, it's going to work differently. Schools now evaluate coaches based much more heavily on coach prestige rather than simply the coach level. Because coach prestige is now tied much more directly to the actual accomplishments like national championships, conference championships, awards, recent success, overall performance, and more. Schools care much more about what you've actually done than how many years you've been around. On the flip side, if you're struggling, schools are going to notice that too. Getting fired, missing expectations, etc. That's going to affect things as well. Another major change is how jobs themselves work. Instead of simply receiving job offers, you're now expressing interest in jobs. When the coaching carousel begins, you'll see 2 categories. Schools interested in you are exactly what they sound like. These are programs that already view you as one of their preferred candidates. All opening shows the available jobs across the country. From here, you can express interest in up to 6 jobs, and this is where things get interesting. Expressing interest doesn't guarantee
I never accepted a coach. Like, I've never accepted a coach job, bro.
Unfolds. But here's the really
I don't think I made it that far on the Dynasty.
And that school selects you, you're taking the job. There's no second decision. There's no final acceptance screen. You've essentially put your name into the hat, and if they choose you, you're gone. You're not just casually clicking every opening. You're actively pursuing jobs you actually want. And there are consequences to this too. Every time you express interest in another job, your coach stability takes a small hit because rumors start spreading that you're looking elsewhere, and that uncertainty can impact recruiting, which again feels very realistic if this all holds up. Recruits care about whether a coach is staying or leaving. Now, another thing I really like is how much information you'll have before taking a job. You'll see the school's resources, available Dynasty points, its blueprint, its AD expect willing to pay you annually, and still some other smaller things that in my opinion are also pretty important. We now have weekly practice plans and wear and tear. This is one of the sneakier changes in this entire deep dive, because for the first time you now have direct control over how your players...
This look like Madden, bro. Yeah, I know y'all know this screen in Madden.
Season. Now, we've seen this system in Madden, so it kind of made sense to bring this over to college. Every week, you'll be able to assign players 1 of 4 different practice plans. A full practice, limited practice, no practice, or the entire week off. And each comes with its own benefits. Full practice gives you the most XP and the best chance to enter games hot, but it also comes with a higher injury risk and no wear and tear recovery. Limited practice reduces injury risk and helps recovery, but lowers your XP gains. No practice gives significant recovery, but players can start games cold. And the week off gives maximum recovery, but that player won't play that week. Honestly, I think this is a really cool addition because it creates real roster management decisions to risk him being real changes to coach progression this year. The biggest addition is the introduction to 2 new coaching archetypes. The first is Visionary. Visionary focuses on player development and weekly preparation. Its abilities can improve player progression throughout practice, increase the chance of players starting games hot, improve screen, bro, and increase the amount of coach points you receive annually. The second archetype is Rainmaker. This archetype focuses on NIL and resource management. Its abilities...
Bro, I know people gonna be going Rainmaker, bro. Look, bro. Do not go Rainmaker. If you real, nah, I ain't gonna lie. I know people gonna go Rainmaker.
Influence from NIL offers generate more.
Nah, stick to recruiter, bro. If you was a recruiter in 26, go recruiter, bro. Do not go Rainmaker, bro. For NIL, don't do it. Either go recruiter, Visionary, or the other 2 that was on college 26, bro. You can't go NIL.
You shouldn't be able to become amazing at everything. You need strengths. You need weaknesses.
You can't go NIL, man.
We're also getting.
It's just not right.
Which I've talked about
in my
video, which was
awesome.
This year we get dynamic weather. This means that the weather throughout a game, weather can get better or which is something we had heard about in leaks, but now it's going to be really cool. We've also got the Heisman ceremony, which is something we had heard about in leaks, but now it's official.
How the Heisman ceremony gonna be?
You'll actually see a Heisman ceremony featuring the 4 finalists. Each finalist is introduced, their season stats will be displayed, and the winner walks up to receive the trophy.
That was a nice little add-on.
History tracking. There's now a season history feature that tracks every season in your dynasty. You'll be able to look back at conference champions, rankings, records, bowl results, and much more. They've also added team historical stats, things like all-time wins, national championships, playoff.
Because I was trying to go back and find like their stats. I hope you can find stats of a game.
The college football playoff structure to reflect the newest format. Conference champions from the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC receive automatic bids. The highest ranked group of 5 champion receives an automatic bid. Notre Dame game can automatically qualify if it finishes inside the top 12, and the playoff structure now fully reflects the latest real-world format. They've also updated several My School grades. Brand exposure now emphasizes recent success more heavily, championship contender focuses more on your current team rather than projecting years into the future, and proximity to home is now calculated much more accurately using actual geographical distance. Another cool thing you can do inside Dynasty is take advantage of the updated coach mode, which I have talked about in a previous video. You have a bunch of different settings.
I might do one and just be a coach
and let the CPU carry out
the
coach
mode.
Even comes with
I don't know. I might have to do that
sideline and the press box where you can view the game from that camera.
Not cool. Record it.
But we also have to talk about the team builder improvements, which is a huge part of Dynasty. And the headline feature here is the stadium builder has been added to the game. I was hoping it would get added this year. Wasn't too confident, but they actually did it. You'll now be able to create your own custom stadium using one of several base stadium templates and then customize things like the backdrop, the jumbotrons, the end zone structures, walls, textures, goalposts, colors, and much more. And they even added deeper crowd customization. You can now choose crowd colors, create custom stripe outs, checkerboards, and other crowd themes, and even set specific conditions that trigger
I might do a
rivalry
team
game
builder.
or a top 25 matchup or night
game.
And on top of that, team
builder
builder now has a full stadium audio suite. You'll be able to customize crowd chants, fight songs, PA announcements, sound effects, and build your own game day atmosphere using a time.
I might have to look into that.
Assets available, giving
that's another Braves first down. I might look into that. I ain't gonna lie.
Also connects much deeper into Dynasty this year. You can create your own school history by setting career, season, and game records before your Dynasty even begins.
Oh no, bro! I might look into that.
Impacting things like recruiting distance, weather, and time of day based on where your school is actually located. One feature I think a lot of people will appreciate is that Team Builder schools can now evolve throughout your Dynasty. At the end of each season, you'll be able to re-import updated versions of your team, meaning you can add new uniforms, improve your stadium, update logos, and continue growing your school over time.
Yeah, I might have to look into the
That is a huge schools and colleges, which let me know below. Do you think they could?
I might have to lead. I might have to do that team builder, man. I ain't gonna lie, it's a lot to take in. It's a lot we're gonna have to learn. I ain't gonna lie, I'm ready to play it, bro. Like, if y'all clicked on this video, I appreciate you. And just let me know how y'all feeling. Y'all ready for the game? I ain't gonna lie, I'm ready for it, bro. Like, I think what it was, July 3rd or July 2nd, one of them days, come get the early access, bro. Like, www in the chat, man. I might react to the gameplay one, but I done did these 3. Gotta go chop them up, edit it, make a little thumbnail. And yeah, man, catch y'all on College Football 27.